Let's go, Michael Michelle Brown joining me, taking on Ellie Dempster now. Wasn't the original opponent that was planned for Power Slap number 13 on June 27th. However, you get a second opportunity to still compete and put yourself out there and grow your stardom. How excited are you to have this opportunity?
I'm so excited, even though it's not the same opponent, not for the belt, it's still, going to be the live card, Fountain Blue. It's fight week and, I'm about it and I love it. So obviously I want to compete for the belt, but just the fact I'm competing, I'm excited.
Absolutely. I had an opportunity to interview Ellie, and she told me that you guys have had an interaction before. Talk to me about how that came about.
Yeah, so I met her when I think it was like she was gonna try out that day for Power Slap. I happened to be shooting some content with VChain, and I met her through there, and we basically hung out for the whole day. She's a super cool girl. I think my last text to her before I found out she was my opponent was like, "Hey girl, you ever need anything? I can help you with Power Slap. Any questions, just ask me." And then not too much longer, it was like, "Oh, she's actually your opponent." But yeah, it's funny because I've never had to fight or slap somebody that I actually really like in person. So it'd be first time for that.
I hear you. So, how are you planning then to change that switch or to be able to switch off from somebody that you like who's now standing in your way from a paycheck and future opportunities?
I think luckily I do have that switch where once I'm on the stage and once it gets a little bit closer and when I think about it in terms of the competition, I am so competitive and it is such a natural thing in me to turn that switch on. I don't even have to try. So I know like once it comes time, it's gonna flip and even though I really like her, love her, once she's my opponent, she's my opponent. But yeah, so I don't really have a plan for it. I know even right now I'm taking it completely serious, but I know for a fact once it comes time, it's just going to automatically happen.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, how do you plan or prepare for somebody that there's literally no tape on whatsoever?
So, I kind of I'm going to go into it as if it was my first one, no expectations. I'm not going to try to overanalyze something that I just have no idea about. The thing I'm definitely going to do differently that I did last competition was with Paige. I studied how she's going to brace all these things and she pretty much did what I expected her to do and I kept all 3 rounds consistent in terms of, my technique and everything. This time I know exactly how I'm gonna slap her the first time, and based on that, in between rounds, I'm gonna, go back and think, okay, is there something I need to fix a little bit? Be ready to change in the moment. Whereas with Paige, it was like I had a plan. This time, I'm gonna see. I think it's really gonna test how I do in the moment and how well I'm able to adapt. So.
That's great to hear. I mean, both of you coming in at 5'4", so relatively the same in terms of height. Were you able to size her up at all, or have you thought back to that interaction that you had with her of how you would pair up against her across the table?
Yeah, I think she's, similar to me in the terms of she just seems like she loves to fight. I sized her up, I guess, on just kind of what she was telling me about, she trained in Thailand. She really seems about it and she really seems tough. So I'm definitely not overlooking her in any way. Just because she hasn't been on the power slap stage doesn't mean she hasn't proved herself in other ways. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it as serious as I would take Paige, taking it as serious as I would a belt. And I think, she's a really tough girl. I do have the advantage in the terms of I've been on the power slap stage specifically. I think that's gonna, determine a lot because it is kind of a crazy thing to do for the first time, like live.
Mm-hmm.
So but I'm gonna use it to my advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks a lot about your work ethic as well, as you just stated. I mean, you didn't have to take this match. You were in line for a title fight. You could have sat on the sidelines and waited for Paige, and I'm sure they would have rebooked that match at a future date. But however, you decided not to. You decided to take a risk and a chance to take on Ellie Dempster here during International Fight Week. What do you think that says about you and your character?
I think it just shows that I'm about it again. When it comes to competition, I love to compete. I love anything kind of fighting. I'm going into this with a lot more to lose than she is, just in general. The fact that I was guaranteed that title shot and that rematch with Paige that I wanted. And, ultimately, this is very important for me to win. I feel like probably the most important one so far because, it could maybe change whether or not I get that title shot next. And I know that, but I think it also motivates me a lot because going into this, it's like, all right, when you have so much to lose, you just want to train that much harder. And I think it's just going to show everybody too, I know some people have some things to say, whether they believe or don't believe that I deserve that first title shot, but this is going to show them, hey, I had everything to lose, not maybe too much to gain, and I still went out there, still put on a show, got the win, and, I want as much competition as I can have.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great mentality to have. We haven't seen too many knockouts in the women's side at 115 or 125 for that matter. Is the training that you're putting in, the preparation, do you think you can buck that trend?
I do. I know the power's there. I know I have knockout power because I have knocked somebody out before, just not in slap.
Mm-hmm.
But with slap, the big difference is you can't fully like replicate it until you're on that stage. Now I've been on that stage twice, so I've had real experience and I developed after my first one. And after this, I feel like I understand now really what is kind of the difference between what's getting knockouts and what's not. And I think I put it together, and I really believe this time I know exactly how to get the knockout.
Yeah, I mean, in the interview that I did with you for Paige before that, fight fell apart, you talked about everything being different in your life now compared to where it was in December. Do you feel that clarity and that wholesomeness is going to help you get that knockout?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of things are gonna benefit me between my life being different and, I'm not training and then going to work an 8-hour shift. I'm so blessed that really this is my main focus in life. This is my job, so I don't have that in the background. I also am not going through a hard weight cut. I pretty much stayed on weight, so I don't have that. And then the big thing was last time was my first time in front of a big audience, and the idea of going against, Paige Vanzant, all those things kind of build up in your mind. Where right now, I know, Paige is the toughest girl, I think, and she's not even rocking me. So I have that confidence going in. I have the confidence of I know exactly what the stage feels like, what the crowd feels like, and the fact that I love it and build off of it. And then, I'm not putting my body through a weight cut. I'm actually able to put on muscle. So all those things and more is really going to lead me to, I think, my best performance. And I don't think that there's anything more I could ask for in terms of the lead up for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're living the all-American dream. I mean, what a world that we live in that, you can get up there, compete in power slap. You no longer have to work an 8-hour shift. You can do what you love and live, life the way you want. So, congrats to you. It's great to see that you have this opportunity. I know I've said it to you before, but everything that you're doing on social, I think is doing it the proper way and building that brand equity, to be able to attract sponsors and continue to grow your stardom that you're a rising star in power slap. I think really power slap's first ever homegrown star, was KO Chris Thomas. Then we had the evolution of Austin Turpin. And now I think Michael Michelle Brown is that next iteration of a homegrown star. So I think you're doing everything great. One last one from
Thank
me.
you.
If Ellie's watching this interview, what do you want to say to her?
Ellie girl, when we get on, I love you, I respect you, but when we get on that stage, it is all business. And I look forward to competing against you.
Great. Look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas once again. Be safe and take care.